Hello, everyone. Hit some buttons here. Got it. Hi, thank you so much for joining us today. We are talking about jewelry, and we are going to be making some handmade jewelry together with UV resin. So UV resin is a clear liquid. It comes in a bottle like this, and with it, you can make almost instant jewelry projects. And today we're focusing on steampunk jewelry projects. So I'm going to walk you through the projects, but my name is Stephanie Menor, and I'm happy to be here today. So let's switch to the top-down camera and take a look at some of the things that we're going to be making. Okay, so first we have a selection of earrings, and these are all made from gear. So steampunk is a fashion and design trend that it takes what is old, so vintage looks like gears and keys, and makes it new. So that's why all of our pieces feature some type of old vintage type icon. Like a gear, this one has a skeleton key. And then we have some moon earrings here as well. So if you are brand new to UV resin crafting, this is the class for you. This is going to walk you through all of the basics that you need to know to get started crafting with this material right away. So our projects that we're doing either are going to come from a mold. This is a mold that we're going to be using. It's a silicone mold that is very clear. You can see. And some of our projects use a bezel. This is a bezel. So it's just a frame that we can fill up with our beautiful designs. So let me clear this and continue to walk you through some of the supplies that you're going to need. Okay, as I said before, we're going to be using molds. And I'm just going to open this package here. And this is a silicone mold. And notice that these are very clear. You'll see the Blue Moon Studio logo on the side there. And this is sold exclusively at Michael's. This design includes some wings, a couple different sizes of gears, and a couple different sizes of skeleton keys. Lots of different molds are available. There are molds for making rings, for making charms, for making pendants, in every different shape. So that's the first thing we're going to need. Next, we need a UV light. This is a 9-watt UV light, and that turns on with clicking of the button. You can see that it's on. And that plugs into a USB power source. I also have a wood stick, and I do have a nail file. I have a selection of a few different glitters here, and some little metal charms or inclusions that we're going to put down inside the resin, and an assortment of bezels. And now to put all of this together, you are going to need some basic findings like jump rings and chains, but we will get to that point. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first type of project we're going to work on are ones that come from molds. So I'm going to show you the difference here. This is something that came from a silicone mold, and it has pink and it has dried flowers in there. This is what the back looks like. So you'll notice what comes out of the mold. It doesn't have any type of a frame around it. And then this is made with a bezel. Similar project, just different materials. So that also has the pink and some dried flowers, but it's contained inside a frame. Okay, so let's bring our mold in here. And the next supply that I didn't mention are these silicone cups. These are mixing cups. You can mix your resin in there with one of your wood sticks, which is what we're going to do right now. So this is what the resin looks like when you buy it. It does have a seal inside, so you want to open up that seal. And I'm going to pour that directly into my mixing cup because I'm going to mix up some colors. So here are our example earrings that we're making. And this earring is made from 4 different gears. And the second pair of earrings is actually an asymmetrical pair of earrings. This is so cool right now. Here's the first earring, so it has 3 different size gears. And then here's the second earring. Instead of 3 gears, it has this chain loop on it. So you can see that even with the same materials, you can connect them in different ways to get different effects. All right, so we have our resin. Here's my stick. Next thing I'm going to bring in are some tints. So these are resin tints. These are sold in the jewelry making department at Michael's right alongside the resin. And we are going to be mixing up maybe sort of a brownish color. And brown might be hard for you to mix. It's one of those colors where people are like, what do I mix together to get brown? But if you think of brown as dark orange, then that makes it easier. So I added a little tiny little drop in there of blue. And I'm going to add 2 big drops, maybe even 2.5 of yellow. And then a little bit of red. I'm going to shake this up first. And then we can mix this together and see what we have and kind of adjust from there. But this is what those look like. And I'm going in with my wood stick. These wood sticks that are sold are actually, they're sold with this cup. And they have 2 different sides. One is a more of a doe foot side, and one is a pointy side. All right, so this is what we have. This is kind of a swampy green color. I don't love that. So to get it out of that green mode, we're going to add more red. Green is opposite of red on the color wheel for those of you that are into color theory. And let's mix that up. Now I could add a little bit of white to this if I want to make this color brighter. You can see it's now like a brown. I could add glitter, which who doesn't like glitter? Let's go ahead and add some. And that is all the glitter I have left in this little container. Let's stir that up. All right, so now we have a brown glitter mix here. And just wiping my wood stick off. I also have some paper towels over here. I use that to wipe that off just so things don't get messy. Okay. So now we're ready to pour this into the mold. I'm going to bring you in just a little bit here so that you can really, oh, that might be too close. So you can really see what I'm doing. Let's try that again. Okay. And these silicone cups are very, very flexible. I can squeeze it like this and it makes a really nice pouring spout. And I'm just going to pour that inside whichever mold I want. Okay, and now I'm going to go in with the sharp side of my stick here. And I'm just kind of making sure that that resin is like gotten into all the nooks and crannies. And if you poured a little too much like I have here, I can just kind of pick that up, put that back in my cup. And you want this mold to be filled to the top. So resin, when you cure it, it will shrink just a tiny bit. So you do want to make sure your mold is filled to the top. So that's what that looks like. Now, because these molds are so clear, what I can also do is lift it up and look underneath it, because sometimes you might get a little pocket of air in there, and you'll be able to see that if that's the case. And I don't have any air, so this is ready. Sorry, I have a hair on my workspace here. So this is ready to go under the light. But before I do that, I'm going to pour some more of these smaller gear shapes. Now, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat function. If you want to ask a question, that is the place to do it. I try to take a look at that chat function as I can, and I like to answer your questions live on air. All right, so now just going in. These really tiny gears have a lot of detail to them, so you want to spend some time making sure that the resin has reached into all the crevices. So that's what I'm doing right now. And again, if I've over poured it just slightly, I can pick this up and either wipe it on a paper towel or put it back into my cup. Now, UV resin is a material that only cures in UV light. Okay, so this, I can leave this on my work surface. I can go and do another project. I can come back to it tomorrow or next week, and it will still be in its liquid form as long as no UV rays have hit this. Now, if your work surface, if your crafting room, for example, has a big window where light shines through, you're going to get those UV rays from the sun on your piece, and it will cure it before you want it to. So just make sure if you are setting it aside and it's still liquid, just put a cover over it. That'll help keep any dust or animal hair off of your piece too, until you're ready to move to the next step, which we are right now. So you can see that I filled a bunch of those. I can see that I have a little bit extra over here, but I'm going to leave that because I want to show you what to do if you do have extra resin. All right, and then I bring in my lamp and hit the button. That button runs this lamp for 1 minute, and then I can continue running it for longer. Now this, I'm going to keep. This is my leftovers. I'm going to move it away from the light because I don't want that to harden. I want to still use that resin for another project. All right, so as I said, this lamp is going to run for 1 minute, and your cure times are typically longer than 1 minute. You are going to cure this for 2 to 3 minutes. And actually, since this color brown that we mixed up is so dark, I'm actually going to cure it for even longer than that. You want to cure it until it doesn't feel sticky anymore. And if you do have some surface tackiness after curing it for several minutes, at that point you might want to put it on a sunny windowsill, because there's nothing that compares to the power of the sun. The UV rays that come out of the sun are a lot stronger than the UV rays in this little machine here. So curing in the sun is a great idea. So under the lamp, it may be 2 to 4 minutes. Curing in the sun, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Even on a cloudy day, you are getting some UV rays from the sun. So even on a cloudy day, it may be 20 to 30 minutes sitting outside, but it should cure for you. All right, so that went for 1 minute, and I hit the button again to let it go for more. And so these are the gears that I already have made. And you can see in the original design, there's actually a lot of different tones of colors here. You have a black, one that's more of a warm brown, and ones that are a little more purple. I like that look of multiple colors. And so you would just get multiple little bowls and mix different colors to your own delight. All right, so that's gone for 2 minutes. I'm actually going to run that again and set this aside while we start to talk about our next project. So our next project uses a bezel. Actually uses a mold and a bezel. So this key is something that came out of a mold. Now, if you have an antique skeleton key, you can put the real thing, the real metal key down inside resin and preserve it that way. That's a really fun idea if you have something that's vintage that you want to preserve. But this piece is just made from resin. And so we make that first in the mold and then sink it down into the bezel. So let me bring this back in. And actually, I'm going to pour that key out of brown. We do have a black tint. This is what the black tint looks like. So you could make that black. I could add a drop of black, but I actually kind of like this color that I have going on. So I'm going to pour this same color. And you can see how it pours right in. Now I can see that I'm kind of doming up here, so I can come in with my wood stick and move that to where I want it to go. Always with my paper towel at my side. I'm also just making sure there's no air bubbles and taking off any excess. I can put that back into my bowl. One other trick I like to do if I have any really detailed molds like this. For example, we do have an alphabet mold that makes, I have an example here. This is a ring. So we have an alphabet mold that has the entire alphabet A to Z, and they're quite small and quite detailed. I like to take a damp paper towel, and you can just kind of lightly come over the top of what is in there if you feel like you have a little overflow. All right, so that's good. Let's put that back in. All right, so while we're waiting for that all to be done, let's go back to our bezel conversation. So here's a bezel. There are many, many different shapes available, from your basic shapes like teardrops, and then some kind of icon shapes like this moon. So we're going to use this rectangle shape. When you use bezels, there's an extra step that you have to do. When you use molds, you kind of just pour it in the mold. You go for it. With bezels, you do need to prep them a little bit, and you prep them with this item, which this is tape. This is special polyester tape that is used with bezels. And you find the end of it. There's the end of it. You can see it's clear with a little bit of a blue tint, and you're going to need a pair of scissors to cut that. And then I want to put that sticky side up. And I'm going to stick my bezel down onto it. And then press down with my fingers. I'm really pressing this into the silicone mat. Which, by the way, this blue thing is a silicone mat. Maybe I can pick up the corner of it and show you. I use this to protect my work surface, because cured resin does not stick to silicone. That's why we have silicone molds, we have silicone cups, and silicone mats. All right, so I pressed that down, and now this is ready for the next step. All right, let's see what we have here. So our gears have been curing for maybe 3-4 minutes. Our key has not been curing for that long, maybe just a minute or so. I can't remember if I hit the button, but you can see these are ready to come out. And they pop out quite easily. You can kind of put your finger underneath and push those out. That's exactly what you get, a perfect shape. Let's pop these little guys out. Even the most sort of smallest details come out really well. I'm going to leave that key in there because it may be cured on the top, but I don't believe right now that it's cured underneath. So I'm just going to leave that and put that under the light a little longer until I get out all these other gears. All right, let's put this under the light. So this was the gear that I said had a little extra. Oh, can you see how that little compartment has some extra? That's okay. You can go in with a tool like this. This is an awl, and try to clear that out. Push through it. And it'll want to break along the lines of where that mold was. So even just pushing through it, I got that to come out. Okay. The other thing is, once you take something out of the mold, if it has a rough edge to it, you can go in with a nail file and just kind of knock that off. Even just using your thumbnail, kind of knock off any rough edges. These don't have any rough edges. These came out great. All right, so I'm leaving the key under there. He's still cooking. And now let me show you how to assemble. All right, here's our first earring. So we're going to need 2 large shapes and 2 medium shapes. So I can pick which ones I kind of think will look good together. I got to use the glittery one. And maybe that one there, something like that. Okay, so these are all connected with these little metal rings. This is a basic building block of jewelry called a jump ring. Jump rings are how you connect 2 things together. And you can get them in a lot of different sizes. For this, we're going to need quite a large size because it needs to get through all of that, all of those gears. Now, to use a jump ring, you're going to want some jewelry pliers like these. These are just flat nose pliers. This is a type of a tool that you may get from your husband's toolbox. This is an actual jewelry plier. It's a little bit smaller. All right, so every jump ring has a break up at the top. You find that break, situate your pliers on either side, or one hand can have a plier and one hand has, just use your fingertips, and bring one toward you and one away from you, and that's how you open the jump ring. So let's see. So on this jump ring, this bottom jump ring is holding 2 pieces together. But at the same time, it's holding that piece on the front. Now, it is imperative here that you have the right size jump ring. And when you're ready to close it, you do the opposite motion. Oops, you do the opposite motion you did. And that's how you connect these 2 together, and they open up like this. Okay. Now, to add this one, in our example earring, all 3 of those pieces are together in one jump ring. But if you don't have the right size jump ring, you can just add them with a smaller one. So I'm going to pick out this size because I couldn't get all 3 gears onto one jump ring. So let's add this guy. I'm going to add him here. And maybe that's too small. It's all right. Let's get a bigger one. Open it up. And hook it on to where you want to hook it on. And then close it. And it wants to go to that side. Hello. Let me open that back up again. Because these gears have, well, gear points on the ends, you have to get it right in the right spot. There you go. All right, so we have three of our 4 gears. We just need to add this one up here, and then we need to add our ear wire up at the top there. So grab one of those. And let's see if we can do this all on one jump ring. So here's a new jump ring, finding where the break is, opening it up. If I stack these two together, yes. And before I close the jump ring, just put your ear wire on there and close it up. There you go. This one wants to fall to the side, so I think when I redo this, I would just get one size up of a jump ring, and then I can get all 3 pieces onto one jump ring, like is shown here. All right, so we have one earring down of our multiple earrings that we're making. So let me show you the other design of similar concept. You can make this knowing the skills that you just learned is more of an asymmetrical look. So in this look, it's more of a green color. And on this one, it has 3 gears. This one has 2 gears and a little swag of chain. I love the asymmetrical look here. It's very hot right now. And so this is just another design idea for you. Okay. All right, moving on. Can't forget about this little guy here. So he went under there for maybe 3 or 4 minutes. And here we go. So when you do use a mold, the part that was up in the mold is usually not the best side. The best side is this side, the one that was down into the mold. Oh, this side. This is the one that was down into the mold. That's going to have the most smooth edges and the best sort of finishing. All right, and let's get out our bezel that we started to prep here. So using a bezel is always the same steps. You want to put it on a piece of special polyester tape, and then you want to do a very thin base coat. So I bring my wood stick in here, and I'm going to push the resin so that it hits all of the sides here. So I'm just bringing it to the walls of the bezel. And it looks like I need a little drop more to make that happen. Just going in straight from the bottle. And you can see, I don't know if you could see, but when I poured it out of the bottle, it wanted to make a bubble. But that bubble just quickly sort of resolved itself. Bubbles with UV resin aren't really a problem. Bubbles are a problem with other kinds of resin, like 2-part resins. That's where you have to mix 2 things together very accurately. You'll notice there's none of that here. There's no measuring. We are just kind of going for it, and UV resin allows you to do that. So here's my first very thin layer, as thin as I can get it, and I'm going to cure that for 1 minute. So what that base layer does is it makes sure that whatever we put on top of it is not going to seep through the edges. So what things can we put on top of it? While I'm waiting for that to cure, let's go over that. It is almost endless, the amount of things that you can put inside UV resin, and we're going to talk about just a few of them here. So here we have some seed beads. These are glass seed beads. This is a ring we made out of our ring mold. These are some rhinestones we put along the outside of it. Dried flowers are a classic. Either, look how simple this is. This is just clear and 1 dried flower in there. Or you can get You can get more sophisticated with a colorful background. Multiple layers of flowers are in there. Here's another example of multiple layers. This has a glitter background with the flower on top. You can use sand, you can use plastic beads, you can use any type of glitter that you can imagine. You can use these are really fun. Hoop earrings. This has some sea beads sprinkled in there. And this sort of marble look in these hoop earrings that I love. You wouldn't believe what this is. Can anybody guess? This is actually old crusty bits of resin. So I keep all of my old resin just in a bag. I can cut that up and use it as confetti. So we don't waste any of it. Whenever you've mixed up a color and you have a little bit too much, you can just cure that and then cut it up and use it as confetti. Love it. Okay, so enough show and tell for the moment. All right, so now we're ready to place our key. This could be a key. This could be any metal item, any botanical item, any plastic item, glass item, metal item. Drop it in there. Make sure we have it centered, because once we cure this, it's in there for good. Is that even? Maybe? Yes. All right. And now actually, one thing I like to do, especially when you're working with multiple layers, layers are your friend. Anytime in UV resin, layers are your friend. So even though I still need to do a top layer on this, I still am going to do this intermediate step of putting it under the lamp for 1 more minute. And the reason I'm doing that is because I just spent time making sure that that key was perfectly centered. And I know that if I just went and poured more resin on top of that from the bottle, it might scooch it a little bit. I don't want any scooching. I want to lock this in exactly where it is. And then I can just do a top layer on top of it. So I actually don't need to let this go for the whole time. That key is in there even after about 20 to 30 seconds. And now I just do a top coat. So I'm just trying to get it in all the little crevices. And then again, going in with my my wood stick just to perfect it along the edges. It will flow to the edges. It's a self-leveling material, but I just like to make sure that it gets there. And now we're ready to cure. This is our final cure. So you can see you may need to take multiple steps in doing something. The curing in multiple layers helps with the cure as well. If you've had some curing issues in trying this before, curing in layers is the best bet. All right, so once we are done, once that is done, we're going to peel off the tape. We'll be left with something like this. This would make a great keychain. This would make a great bag charm, or of course, a necklace. So if you do want to turn it into a necklace, Michael sells a lot of great chain necklaces that already have the clasp on them. So they are very easy because it's already made, and all you need to do is connect it to the chain with a jump ring. You can see that little jump ring right there holds the two of them together. All right, so that went for 1 minute. I'm going to actually cure it for another minute. I want to make sure that that's all the way through. And while that's going, I just wanted to show you this. I'm using gold jump rings, gold findings for everything, but this color is very closely associated with steampunk. And this color of findings is called brass ox. Some people call it ox brass. Some people call it bronze or antique bronze, antique brass. This is all the same thing. The ox stands for the word oxidized. It's supposed to give you a look of brass that has already been oxidized by wear. And so these packages of findings from Michaels are great because you get a little bit of everything. I have some earring findings in there. I have some lobster clasps, some jump rings, and even some head pins and eye pins. Great if you're trying out a new metal plating that's outside of, you know, the standard silver or gold. All right, so that went for 2 minutes. One thing I didn't mention at the top is once this is done, once this cures, it will be a little warm. So this is warm to the touch right now. And that warmth is just generated from the chemical reaction that's taken place when the resin hits the UV light. So you do want to wait for it to cool a little bit. So maybe I should wait. I'm so impatient. Let's see. All right, so you peel this tape off and you'll notice the tape is a lot stickier now than when you put it on there. Oh, yeah, you know what? Don't peel it earlier. Learn from my mistakes. Don't peel it earlier. Let it cool. When I tried to peel this off, you can see that some of the tape kind of like got peeled off too because it was too warm. So make sure you're peeling that. Make sure you're cooling that before you peel it. So let's wait for that to cool completely before we peel the rest of it. All right, coming up here to our final project. And I do have a couple more things to show you just as inspiration for your own creations. This is our final project here. This is another bezel project. So this uses a moon-shaped bezel, which we are filling with glittery resin and then some metal charms. All right, same step as last time. I'm going to cut some tape. And then sticky side up, I'm going to put my bezel on there and press that down. And a pro tip, you can turn the corner up of your tape like I just did, and that gives you a little finger hold to hold onto it on a place that isn't sticky. And then we do our base coat. These steps are the same no matter what I plan to do in this bezel. You add the tape, you do a base coat, then we move that around. And I'm just making sure that it makes contact with the walls. And do a pre-cure step. All right, let's see what we got going on here. Where I got too impatient. See some of the tape stuck to it. My fault, guys. Learn from my words, not my deeds. So you can see what happened there. Some of the resin stayed with the tape, and it left me with a very ugly thing here. But let's pretend I didn't get impatient and do that too earlier, and this is what it will look like when it's just perfect. Love this necklace. All right, so that's going for a minute. And okay, so that's gone for a minute. I'm going to talk about cleanup here in a minute too. All right, so new silicone bowl. This bowl is slightly pink. That may happen when you're mixing a lot of heavily tinted things. Your silicone can hang on to that color, but not to worry, it doesn't affect the performance of it at all. So going in with some of this and I am looking for a glitter here that I want to use. I'm actually going to go with this glitter. It's a very pretty flaky copper glitter. I don't use these that often. Let's see. See how it's like glitter flakes? You know what? Let's add some smaller glitter in there too. I really like this sort of iridescent glitter. This is a great color to have on hand because it kind of goes with everything. Because it's, you know, sort of just, you get just a pop of iridescence in there. So if I were only able to have one glitter color, that's what I would take. All right, and now we can pour this in. And just very carefully, some of the pieces of foil are a little bigger than others, so you just carefully place those where you want them to go. And I can concentrate the glitter just to the bottom or just to the top, and that'll give me more of an ombre look. But I like the way that looks. And then finally, I can add some little metal charms. Let's see what we have here. I love this shape here. Now, one trick for getting these out, because they are very, very tiny, is just wet the tip of your stick with a little bit of resin, and then these you'll be able to grab onto one once you get enough resin on there. Come on. Oh, not cooperating today. I don't like that one. Let's do a different one. Let's put moons inside of a moon. Here we have some moons. There we go. Also, one thing I like to do is just put a tiny little drop of resin, and that is the resin that I'll use to pick up my small bits and pieces here. There we go. Let's turn him so he faces the same side. Same with this one. Just so you guys know, we are going to be wrapping it up here in a little bit. So if you have any unanswered questions, go ahead and ask them in the chat. We have some folks on there that are able to answer any questions that you might have. And thank you to those of you that are crafting along with us. Do we have any folks crafting along with us? Just so you know, for these classes, there is a supply list that's included, and you can craft right along and make the project along with me if you want. All right, so this is ready to go, and now I just I'm going to cure this. On top of this layer, I could add another layer to get a little more of a dome effect, but that is really your personal preference if you like that dome effect on top or if you just want it to be flat. So while this is going, a little more show and tell, because I want to inspire you guys. I want to see you out there making some UV resin jewelry. This is a perfect craft for birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, fundraisers, for your craft table. I'm going to show you some more fall projects. So these are a series of bar earrings that we have done. This has some dried flowers in it. This has one dried flower, which we cut in half. And it's a great way to get more bang for your buck out of one single flower. And this is the cutest little turkey here, and it is a brooch. So you can see now, just with the skills you've learned in this class, you can make this brooch. So, but we do have a link. We did a whole class on fall projects last year, and somebody's going to put a link in the chat to that so that you can click on that and go directly to the YouTube where we walk you through all of these steps. But the way this is made is with a teardrop. Maybe you can see it better from the back. 5 different teardrops that we made in a mold, different colors, different kind of like swirly effects, and then 1 larger teardrop here. And then we connected all of them with more UV resin. No need to buy a separate glue. The UV resin itself works as a wonderful adhesive to connect all of these together and to add your little brooch pin to the back. Now we made him extra special with some little dangly bead legs, but pretty simple how he comes together. Go ahead and look at that video if you're interested in learning more. Also, we did these beautiful autumn leaf earrings. So another way of constructing an earring out of what you've made is to add a little length of chain to the top of it and make it sort of this dangle style. And then one more thing I want to show you. Another way to use beads. So here we just took some seed beads, ran it down the middle of a shape that we created. Sorry, I know I said one more, but one more really. And this is an autumn leaf bracelet that we made. And this is interesting because this is made with UV resin, but a special kind of UV resin. And this is a soft type UV resin. So 99% of the projects you see with UV resin use hard type UV resin. This is the one that we've used this whole class, that it cures to a hard glass-like finish. This one, however, it'll say soft type, it cures to this gummy bear kind of a consistency. And that's cool for bracelets because you want them to bend around your wrist. So this is just 4 shapes from a mold that we connected together, and we used soft resin for this. So I like to show this as a perfect example of the use of soft resin in a bracelet. All right, so let's see what we have here. All right, this is mostly cooled. Let's peel this off. And this is what we have. So to turn that into an earring, of course, you need some jump rings. You need some ear wires. And let's use this jump ring, which I already opened in the last step. All right, jewelry pliers. I already opened my jump ring, so all I have to do is connect that through here. Connect your ear wire. This is a very basic ear wire. There's different ones. There's kidney-shaped ear wires. There's ear studs that instead of dangling from the ear, they go through the ear. This is sort of your most basic. And just like that, you've made an earring. Very simple to make its pair. All right, so while we are wrapping up here, I also wanted to talk about cleanup. So you might be left with some things that look like this with some extra resin. Well, first of all, use this in new pieces. But when you're left with just a little bit of resin in the bottom of your bowls, to clean up, the easiest way to clean up is just cure that right in the bowl. Cure it so that it's not liquid. and then you can just peel it right out and then put it in your bag of extra pieces that I've kept here. And then I use that to cut up for confetti. So not a drop of it will be wasted. All right, guys. Well, I think we're wrapping it up here. We do these classes every month. We also teach classes on polymer clay jewelry making if you're interested in that. We have some great classes coming up in the month of December that are seasonal themed. So take a look at michaels.com classes and events page to check out our future classes. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to let this go and I'm going to basically pop that out when it's ready. It's not ready yet, but that's how I'm going to clean up my workspace. Thank you so much. Join us for the next time. We love you guys. Thank you.